stop sharing your screen so that Osama can share his presentation?
I forgot how to stop sharing my screen. Okay, I got it.
Thank you very much. Lovely to be here. And thank you for inviting me. As you said, I've been part of this journey from the very beginning, and it's always, whenever I join these, it's an eye opener to see how much progressive work is actually happening. Just a quick note, because I might need to leave early, on Dr. Najma. One thing that I noticed in your fair and balance index was if you could add probably indices about gender society and media, which is dominated by men. Women get left out and are not represented equally and fairly. So that would be very important in your impartiality, fairness and balance, one. And the second thing would be not just the mentioning of opposing point of views, but also giving them equal time. So if you've got an hour-long broadcast and you've only given one party 5 minutes and the other party 50 minutes of your show, it's not really balanced. So, and that also would go into written work as well. So those are the two things that I thought might help improving that impartiality and fairness and balance. Okay, so now
I'm noted.
Thank you. I'm in your boat. Let me just quickly figure out how do I usually consult my daughter to figure out how I use PowerPoint, but hang on one second. Okay. Somewhere around here is a button that allows me to share my screen.
It's at the bottom. It's at the bottom. It says on your Zoom screen, it says share screen. It's a green arrow pointed. It's the black arrow on the green button pointing upwards.
Great. Okay. So how do I, well, one second. All right. So are you able to see my screen now? Hang on. Now I can. One second. There you go. Sorry, people. I'm technologically challenged, as you can all completely understand now. Okay, great. Right. So the reason that we've been doing this for, as many years, I've got plenty of white hair, so I have no shame in saying I've been doing it for 20+ years. But we ask this question, why? Why is this important? And if not, then we should be asking ourselves why. Why do we do this? What is the significance of this? Why is it important, and how does it help people? So I'll give you an example, because I'm coming off of Iraq right now. And after 8 years of covering the rise and fall of ISIL, I finally found a story that I had not done before. That was to my surprise as well, because I thought we'd done everything. And I'll show you this, and I'd like you to, this is a condensed version. The full version is on the interweb somewhere. And I'll share the link with you as well if you choose to want to see it. But do have a look at this video and try to understand the plight of these women.
They were beating us and raping us. My children live with that memory. I now suffer from injuries from the spine to the neck. They have this belief that if you have been raped, you're an ISIL woman. My husband spat on me and started beating me with my brother. I was beaten so bad they had to take me to the doctor. He left us alone. Muslim
Arab women who were enslaved by ISIL and did not find a place to go back to, they are still living in the shadows of the society.
Right. So this is a report which was condensed, and you talked about platforms. So this is a condensed version of the longer report for social media. But this just gives you an idea that I have been covering this war for the last 8 years. I covered the rise of ISIL, where it was the al-Nusra Front and Al-Qaeda's offshoot in Iraq. And I have seen it go up and I've seen it come down. And I was not able to see this story because these are invisible victims. Why is journalism important? Why does it matter? That if it wasn't for journalists, if it wasn't for journalism, after this story aired, I've been contacted by the United Nations Office for Gender Rights in Iraq. We're in collaboration with the Amal Clooney Foundation to try and see that if these women can be included. And there are multiple activists who reached out from Canada to the US to wherever, asking that how can they train the people who work for NGOs, how can these women be helped to be part of a wider society and so forth. So this gives you an idea that even when we are so close to a story, and I'm directly talking to the mentees here, that because we get so up close and personal to stories that it becomes boring and second nature, that we stop asking those basic questions. It happened to me. That's why I'm talking to you. That we don't look at it from a fresh perspective. We don't ask questions from people who are part of and being affected in Macha Colony and in Ibrahim Hedri about the disenfranchisement of the Bengali community. That was, I think, the project that we were working on. And it just goes to show that it's been there for generations. And yes, nothing has been done about it, but should journalists stop reporting it? Or should they have renewed vigor and push their networks or organizations or platforms or websites to push this forward? Take this until there is a resolution, keep reporting it. And now that's where the fine line of activism and journalism comes in. Yes, you can report on a story. Yes, you can tell people about how bad the situation is, but you cannot and you should not be an activist about it. Because once you do that, then you become too involved and then your objectivity goes out of the question. Yes, help activists with whatever information and access that you have without endangering people. But it is important to keep highlighting those stories, to keep telling the world that these are people who matter. And for me, journalism is all about the people, the stories that you tell about the people. How you hold people in positions of power is via the stories of people. If you want to go to the finance minister today and you say the economy is in doldrums and people are struggling, go talk to people who are actually struggling first. Tell him about the people who are having to eat yogurt and a roti for the whole day, because this is what the reality on the ground is. And you will have a more powerful voice, more impactful voice when you hold people to power, to account with that. The other part of what I wanted to discuss was, it is very important to continue to do the mundane work. I'll give you an example. This is something that I did 11 years ago, if not longer. There was a story about a letter that Benazir Bhutto had allegedly written asking for help and CIA and whatnot. And it was the very basic journalism that I did. I knew Peter Galbraith. And I sent him a copy of the letter and I emailed him. I said, look, this is doing the rounds. Could you please tell me what this is? And first he was angry, then he explained it and he's like, I'm surprised that this is still happening. So what happened a couple of weeks ago is that somebody regurgitated that letter. It started doing the rounds on social media, and Pakistan's first female dead prime minister was being ridiculed on social media again. And this is when somebody else picked up on what I had published. This was something that I had long done and forgotten about. But this was somebody, and these are people who know me, who remember it, and they referenced it to me as well. And they didn't have to. They could have just taken the letter and do it, but they did. And what this showed to me is the importance of journalism. Shireen Mazari, to her credit, was gracious enough. She did do it with an end note, but she did delete that tweet after it was identified that this is a fake letter. And this is why journalism, this is why accuracy, this is why doing the mundane task of emailing people and talking to them and putting that information out there in the public domain is so important. We were able to bust a fake news 11 years after we'd done that journalism. So it just goes to show that this is something that as journalists and as researchers, it is very important to keep doing this work, to making sure that our work, and as Dr. Najma pointed out, that attribution. I mean, if you're a journalist and you're saying the sky is blue attributed to God, make sure that your opinions are not overshadowing your reportage. We all have opinions, and we all want to make sure that our opinions are outside of our line of work, and what we do is done objectively, and is done to the very best of our knowledge on being impartial. Now, we live in a day and age where everything is on social media. Entire debates are being fought on either, if you're an old man, then you watch the 11 o'clock TV talk show, and if you're the younger generation, then you're going to your favorite social outlet and getting your information from there. I was in Afghanistan when the Taliban came to power. I was the first one to cross via land into Jalalabad on the day the US forces leave. And we were able to go through, and then the moment I reached Kabul, I realized that there's a lot of propaganda doing the rounds about, how we were in Panjshir and we did not see any Pakistani helicopters doing the Afghan Taliban's bidding for them. We did not see any of the other allegations that were being peddled. And that is, again, the importance of the work that we do. We were able to bust these myths on social media in the same form. I was actually on the second floor of the Serena when Arnab Goswami was talking about the fifth floor of the Serena. So it is the work that we do matters. It is important. It not just shapes opinions, but it also guides policy. It is relevant to the people on the street as well as the people in power. And I've tried to show that with a couple of examples. I hope I'm not going over my time limit, but this is what I wanted to emphasize on, that research and journalism go hand in hand. Activism and journalism go hand in hand. But as journalists, we've got to make sure that the platform that we are using, we are relevant to that platform. Dr. Najma mentioned something very interesting about making sure that you are concise and you get to the point without going around and around in circles. And that is very important. We kind of take liberties when it is in writing, but also now nobody reads a 3,000 word summary of the research that you produce. Very few people read the whole research. So it is important to have clarity in your information. Target your audience. Who are you speaking to? Making sure that accuracy is key. And then again, I mean, keep informing people. And the reason I keep informing people is that I don't think that I've stopped learning. Every single time, every single story that I go to, I try and look at it from an angle or a perspective which hasn't been done before. And that is why I think this is important. That is why this fellowship is important. All of the journalists who took part in this are brilliant journalists. I mean, I didn't think that I can add anything to what they're doing already. But what I did try to do is add a bit of more perspective. Have you looked at X, Y, and Z? Have you spoken to people from this aspect? Would you like to do it in a way where you look at the financial aspects of things? So those are all really key questions of trying to look at the same story that is done year after year after year, to make sure that there are things that are developing, there are things that are happening, and things that are not happening are also noteworthy. And on that, I'd like to end this. And it's been a great pleasure. I wish Agahi and Kalam and the Trust Fellowship the very best of luck. I hope that this develops into a program where you're able to plug in people from all parts of society, all walks of life, from all parts of Pakistan. Because the more I travel across Pakistan, the more I believe that we have an abundance of talent. It just needs the right, guidance and probably a little bit of sculpting to get it out there. Thank you very much. And I hope